Again, Commissioner Harry Cohen, District 1 here in Hillsborough County, Jackie. So there's the latest from the county government and how they're concerned in preparing for this. And you can hear the concern in the commissioner's voice. And he said you can hear it in his fellow commissioners' voices. They are not letting their guard down. They may have changed a few of their procedures right now as the forecast has changed, but the danger is still real here in Hillsborough County, Tampa Bay, in the city of Tampa. We're nowhere near out of the woods, Jackie, and you well know that, Jackie.
Yes. Life-threatening threat still for Tampa. Thanks, Justin. Yeah. Now, the southernmost point of the U.S. has been getting hammered by waves today. Rough surf off Key West, turning up these monster waves. We're going to get to that video, I think, in just a moment, but we want to bring in our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. He's got more on what we can expect in terms of that surge, Dr. Knabb. So just because the surge might be a little bit lower in Tampa, at least that's the current forecast right now, areas south of there still could see water levels 10 feet, 12 feet above normally dry ground.
And as we just heard from that official in the Tampa area, it's not like Tampa doesn't have some really big water problems still, because a lot of places, Tampa included, are going to be faced with saltwater and freshwater flooding that on their own would be damaging and life-threatening. Together, it's even worse, and so that is an even greater reason to be evacuating, as told by local officials, from storm surge zones. But if you're in a particularly flood-prone area from rain-induced flooding, they're saying might want to consider going to higher ground preemptively, because this is going to be moving only at 5 miles an hour. Something near Cat 3 or 4 at landfall, and then only moving 5 miles an hour. That is going to be a water disaster, combined saltwater and freshwater in many places. And we've got to get to our safe place, evacuated off the roads, in the place that's safe from wind, out of flood-prone areas. By the time the winds of tropical storm force arrive, that'll be perhaps late tonight, midnight, shortly thereafter in Fort Myers, and tomorrow morning in Tampa. So we've got a little time, but not a whole lot. Storm surge warnings. This is a very long stretch of the west coast of the Florida Peninsula under a storm surge warning. And yes, the values are lower in Tampa, but not zero. And we could have some devastating storm surge on the west coast of the Florida Peninsula. And not only that, but in the Big Bend and up in the northeast coast of Florida. 3, 4, 5, 6 feet of storm surge flooding getting into the St. Johns River area, and then the coasts of Georgia and South Carolina will be at risk as well. You got a flash flood watch. You might think, what's the big deal? This is the big deal. Multiple days of likely flash flooding tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, with Jackie, this highest risk of flash flooding from the Weather Prediction Center in some of the areas that are at risk for storm surge. This could be a very disastrous, life-threatening water event from both saltwater and freshwater.
Yeah, we could be talking about a foot, maybe more, of rainfall in areas. So time is running out to prepare ahead of Hurricane Ian. Pinellas County Public Information Officer Ashley Johnson walks us through what you need to know about the evacuation process.
Well, really, we want people to evacuate 2 miles, not 2,000 miles. So that's one way to stop from everything getting backed up. Go to a family or friend's house that is in a non-evacuation zone.
Always good to help each other if you can do that and open up your doors to help other people and get them into a safe place. As we've got updates now on the watches and the warnings that remain in effect. So pretty much the whole peninsula of Florida is under at least a tropical storm warning. And notice the expansion of the hurricane warnings from Tampa down towards Naples now and all the way up to Orlando. That's right, Orlando may be seeing hurricane conditions, certainly power outages and heavy downpours with flooding rains can be expected. There you can see on radar the center of Ian, and notice the lightning in that eye wall near the center, still indicating we have a strengthening storm. The bands have been spiraling already across South Florida, and those 2 red boxes include tornado warnings that we had in effect for parts of Broward, Collier, and Dade counties. Now notice the wind speeds. Not too much of a big deal yet. They're about 15, maybe 20 miles per hour. We've got to get up there stronger to consider them tropical storm force, over 39 miles per hour. And that's going to happen with time, especially as we head into tomorrow. But the rain bands are really going to become relentless over time. In addition to that, as the bands spiral on through, we'll have a lot of spin or a lot of vorticity with this and friction. So tornadoes are going to be a possibility, not just tonight, but through your Wednesday and possibly northward into Thursday. There you can see the latest modeling indicating that potential landfall very nearby. And know that the winds are going to be changing direction. So you're going to start out with your winds coming from the land towards the ocean, that easterly flow, and those winds will be picking up tonight 30, maybe 40 miles per hour, to a southerly flow when our winds will be picking up to 50, 60 miles per hour or so. And then as the hurricane lifts up towards the north, we're going to have that steady onshore flow for the rest of the duration of the event. And that's really when that water begins to pile up as that wind pushes the water up onto the shore. So we could be talking about 90-mile-per-hour winds, better perhaps into Port Charlotte. This now takes you into Thursday night. Still gusty, still some onshore winds across this region. So as we take a look at conditions and the timing of some of these impacts for a place like Fort Myers, Tuesday night through Thursday morning for at least tropical storm force wind gusts. The hurricane wind should be arriving by Wednesday morning, continuing through Wednesday night. Rainfall amounts half a foot or better, that's a good possibility. So this will be a long duration event for you in Fort Myers. You can follow our ongoing coverage of Ian anytime with our streaming TV app available on smart TVs. Here you find live radar coverage from our teams in the field and in-depth analysis of the updated track.
No allergy spray is faster. With the speed of Astropro, almost nothing can slow you down. Because Astropro starts working.
So you partner with IBM Consulting.
Okay, you go there, and go
so that every
there.
driver and merchandiser can serve up jalapeno, sesame,
Then
and
you go
chocolate
there,
covered
go.
goodness with real-time data-driven precision. Let's create supply
Yeah.
chains that have an appetite for performance.
A tropical storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 72 degrees with rainy conditions. Tonight, thunderstorms, low 70. Locally heavy rainfall possible. Wednesday, windy with rain and possibly some thunder. High 75. Rainfall possibly over 1 inch. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Stronger winds, stronger surge, and stronger storms.
Welcome back to Storm Center, everybody. You are looking live on the right there in the city of Sanibel. Tough to see anything there as they're getting hammered right now by some rain and thunderstorms from the bands of Hurricane Ian, which continues to be a very powerful major hurricane, a Category 3 with winds of 120 miles per hour. Want to get to our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knapp, for more on Ian's wind threat. And Dr. Knapp, this is expected to still strengthen all the way up to landfall.
Yeah, and Jackie, we've got the life-threatening winds of a major hurricane just hours away from the Florida Peninsula. We've got to take shelter from those winds, get out of the storm surge evacuation zones, don't vertically evacuate in high rise. So many reasons that we've already talked about, that's a bad idea. And you want to get inland, out of evacuation zones, out of flood-prone areas, and sheltering from the wind. Category 3 now still has time to get stronger, but in any case, looks like we're going to have landfall in Cat 3 or 4, and it'll be slow moving. So this is going to be a long duration event as it moves only about 5 miles an hour tomorrow into Thursday. So longer duration winds increase the chance of damage and power outages and so forth. So look at how far inland that hurricane warning goes, all the way into Orlando. This is not just going to be a coastal event. In the entire Florida Peninsula, essentially under a tropical storm warning, and those watches go all the way up into the coastal areas of Georgia and South Carolina. Those winds are going to start later tonight, overnight in Fort Myers up through Tampa, and then moving inland and northward from there, even the southeast coast of Florida under tropical storm warning. And you want to be thinking about how to stay safe from winds. Cover those windows with shutters and plywood. Don't tape the windows. That actually can add to the danger because it won't stop the windows from breaking, but then they could break into larger, deadlier pieces. And you're going to waste your time and waste your money. Then you got to scrape it off afterward if the window survives. Shelter like you would for a tornado as a major hurricane comes ashore. You could get extreme wind warnings from local weather service offices. Do not stay in a mobile home. The emergency managers have been telling people to get out of those even in tropical storm conditions. Don't stay on the upper floors of a high rise. You're just buying yourself a category stronger on the wind scale. And again, if you stay in a high rise in the evacuation zone, help can't come, Jackie. So this is going to be life-threatening for so many reasons.
Well, Dr. Knapp, as hurricane season kicks into high gear, those in hurricane-prone areas know how important it is to be prepared before, during, and after the storm. Meteorologist Reynolds Wolf talks with one lifelong Florida resident about how he's preparing for a hurricane by installing a whole home standby generator. Take a look.